afterwards, I would imagine that the streets are just going to be filled with Karen Read supporters, and I'm going to come out of those stairs, and it's just going to be the greatest feeling in the world because it will finally be over.
Something happened in that last week, the week before the shooting.
And then he calls my family pawns in his game. Well, he taught me how to play chess.
Guilty.
Welcome to Headline Crime. I'm Susan Hendricks. The name Karen Read is a name that most people know.
John O'Keefe was found dead in a fellow police officer's yard in the snow 2 years ago. Police say Karen Read ran him over and left him there to die.
But it's become synonymous with Turtleboy.
Aidan Kearney, also known as Turtleboy, you have published more than 300 articles on Read's case. Your YouTube channel gets millions of views. You've been invested in this story from the beginning.
Normally, I'm pretty skeptical of conspiracies and cover-ups and whatnot, but the evidence in this was undeniable. I've never seen anything like it.
Kearney is charged with intimidating witnesses, and prosecutors hope to show Read was collaborating with him.
Loughran was also asked whether Aidan Kearney, the blogger known as Turtleboy, pressured him to testify a certain way by writing articles about his personal life.
Was the online blogger threatening or saying that he would expose you and tell personal things about you if you weren't helpful?
He was not threatening.
There was no threats. It's just a complete lie. He was never recorded. What you saw in that courtroom was pathetic.
As a reminder, it was Turtleboy who was sent to jail over this whole... Literally all he did was have a peaceful protest. He was outside people's houses. He wasn't on their property.
How did you first hear of Karen Read, and when did you become invested?
Long time. We call ourselves Turtle Riders. We follow Aidan Kearney, aka Turtleboy.
Today's headliner is Turtleboy.
This is the story of one woman alone, facing down some of the most powerful, well-protected people in the state who sought to destroy her life and exonerate herself.
When it first happened in January of 2022, it was all over the news around here, and I really didn't pay that much attention to it. I did. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I write about stories like this. So when a police officer gets killed, it's kind of like a big story. And so, but usually when the person kills a cop, it's like some scumbag with a huge background of like a million charges. So when I looked at this and then I looked up Karen Read, this was not a person who had ever committed crimes before or anything like that. So and it appeared to be an accident by all accounts. And I'm like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks for her. That sucks for him. That sucks for everyone. So I don't really have a take on this story. If it was just an accidental hit, it's like, I don't even know what I could say about that. But so I forgot about it, memory hold it. And 15 months later, I was alerted by a couple people. I saw a couple blurbs in the media, something about a Google search and, this case involving a woman who hit the cop. I didn't even remember the name Karen Read. And so if you had told me the name Karen Read, I wouldn't even know who that was. Yeah. And so, I saw it and I was just busy on April 12th when I first read about it. I didn't get around to it. And then this guy, Brian Johnson, he's a former Duxbury cop, and John O'Keefe used to work as a cop in Duxbury. And he sent me this filing from the case, a 92-page affidavit that Alan Jackson had written in a recent motion that outlined the entire story and why they thought that Karen Read was framed. And it wasn't just baseless allegations. Like everything that he said in this affidavit came with receipts. John's Apple Health data, Jennifer McCabe's call log, Jennifer McCabe's Google search history, Jennifer McCabe's Apple Health data. Hank Brennan calls it Apple Healthcare. It's Apple Health. And so like looking this over, I'm like, well, gee whiz, this is, the more I read about it, I'm like, I remember making a post around 6:00 on April 17th saying, I am researching right now one of the biggest stories I think I've ever read about. Apparently a Boston cop was murdered by another Boston cop, and an innocent woman has been framed for this. And immediately people started to be like, is this the story in Canton? Is it, like people were starting to read about it, and people were all amped up for me to write the story. And the more I read, I'm like, oh my God.
At this point, are you thinking, okay, is there a story here? Were you 100%?
Oh, I was 100%. As soon as I read everything, the more I asked, the more I was like, oh, this is undeniable.
Do you remember the first time you talked to Karen personally, like
It
one-on-one?
was like in May. It was like a month after I started
What
writing.
was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed. I'm like, she's an impressive woman. She's very well spoken and knows her. She knows this case inside and out. By that point, like, I had no doubt she was innocent.
Did you ever think, okay, think now where we are, looking back, would you ever have thought how big this got? Or did you know once you started digging in and reading, wait a minute, this could get big?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a big story the second I started reading those filings, but I thought it would not. I didn't think it would last very long because I thought they would drop the charges. If they just dropped the charges, then there wouldn't be that much to write about, But it's the fact, once they doubled down, a couple days later, the Commonwealth responded to my article and said, we are not dropping the charges. We are going to have a response to this. The Google search never happened. They said the 227 Google search from Jennifer McCabe never happened. Now, keep in mind, at that point, they had not hired an expert yet. She did the Google search, She deleted it. And then Karen's expert found it a year later, right? Doing an extraction report. And then I write about it and it's big news everywhere. And the Commonwealth's response to that was that, no, this never happened. They've made a mistake. We're going to disprove this. Now, when they made that announcement on April 20th, they didn't have an expert of their own. So how did they know what conclusion they were going to reach? How did they know that the search never happened? That means that they had tunnel vision. They were like, we need to search for an expert who's going to tell us what we want to hear. In comes a gentleman by the name of Ian Whiffen.
Am I correct that yesterday you essentially said that as of today, no Celebrite tool, no Insight suite such as physical analyzer, today shows that 22740 AM timestamp?
Correct. If you use any version from the last approximately year, that timestamp won't show up.
It won't show up as you sit here today?
Correct.
But that's not always been the case.
Correct.
With regard to Celebrite forensic tools, correct?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, in the first proceeding in this case, in June of 2024, when you testified under oath, the situation with the forensic tools was Celebrite Forensics Insights did not show the 22740 AM timestamp, but another version of Physical Analyzer did show it, correct?
Correct.
In that second program, that second tool, Physical Analyzer, not only showed it at 22740 AM, but it showed it as a deleted state, correct?
It's a deleted record, yes.
A deleted record?
Yes.
Did you mention that yesterday in your direct testimony?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so?
No, we changed it since then.
Exactly, you changed it since then.
Yes.
Your company removed it.
Yes.
After the first trial.
Before the first trial.
Well, you removed it from one tool before the first trial.
He's a former Calgary police officer who, works for Cellbrite, and he had testified that basically they get to decide at Cellbrite. They're a software extraction company, so they get to decide what comes up in reports and what doesn't. And so in their latest update of their software program, they made sure that Google search of 227 does not appear in the extraction report. It's like getting rid of a bloody knife. It's like the digital equivalent of that. Cellbrite just got rid of it. Now, why would Cellbrite do that? They're not in on the conspiracy, right? They have no whatever. So why would they do that? Well, Cellbrite makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from the district attorney's office because they use them to extract stuff from cell phones for cases. Like usually it's the Commonwealth who's using Cellbrite to prove that Google searches happened to incriminate people like a guy named Brian Walsh, who is currently in jail for murdering his wife. He has not been convicted yet, but they got him on Google searches. He Googled all this really incriminating stuff, like how to chop up a body and all this stuff. So they use Cellbrite. They liked that Cellbrite report because that helped them arrest the bad guy. Whereas with Jennifer McCabe's, they're like, no, this never happened. Because why? Because that's not good for their case. If Jennifer McCabe's the culprit, that's not good for them convicting Karen Read. That's what they want to do, convict Karen Read. So they, Cellbrite makes all this money from DA's offices. They make that's the customer, right? You want to please the customer. And if the customer is not happy with the results of a Google search, well, you got to do what you can to make the customer happy. So make that Google search disappear. And that's essentially what he testified to, because there's other competitors like Axiom, which is a software company. And if you were to take Jennifer McCabe's phone right now and download it using Axiom, the Google search would still appear to this day. Ian Whiffen testified to that. So the Google search clearly happened. They're just trying to pretend like it didn't because it destroys their case.
My God, like the 227 there, to me, I didn't watch the first trial. I had heard of your name, but not much. I connected it with Karen Read and that was it. But the house you're in front of right now, I've been to twice now. And the house at the center of this, and seeing the lawn where it was and seeing the windows. I'm here in front of the house where this all happened. Really the center of this case, 34 Fairview. The man who owned this house at the time, Brian Albert, he was the center of the case along with Jen McCabe. So see the windows behind me, upper left-hand side. So if I'm facing here, the upper two, that is where, when he was on the stand during cross, he said that's where his bedroom is. Why didn't he come out? Because that is a sticking point for many people. And hearing that no one came out of that house and no one went in that house, to me, it's done. I mean, that was it.
It's the most suspicious thing. Everything these people did was beyond suspicious. In any normal circumstance involving the death of a police officer, they would be prime suspects. They would be treated as that until they were until they were able to show that they are not suspects, till they could be ruled out. But they were never, ever treated as suspects. And in the words of Michael Proctor in his own text messages to his friends, when they asked him, is the homeowner going to catch any? His response was, nope, he's Boston police. Yes. So like, he's not going to catch any shit for the dead cop on his lawn. And you're right. When you go to that house, I've been a million times, obviously.
It's a different perspective. It's like,
it's very small.
Yeah.
It's a very small front lawn, probably only 30 or 40 feet, maybe 50 feet tops from the
flat. Flat.
Yeah,
I heard you say
flat.
that they're trying to say like up the hill, down the hill. There are no hills.
There's no hills. It's a very flat part of town. And, there's no way that a man could be hit by a woman, spinning her tires, going 24 miles an hour in reverse and then taken off. Like, that would be a collision. That would be noise. The taillight shatters into 47 pieces, they say, and destroys his arm. Like, that's his explanation for the arm. And so you would hear that. People like Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe, you're going to see, he's going to testify the same thing, is they both testified they were constantly looking out the window, yet they somehow missed this. And then when they all left, they all drove directly by the flagpole, which is right where the body was found. And there was 8 people that drove by there. Not a single one of them saw a dead body lying on the front lawn. If there's doubt that Jennifer McCabe might have done that Google search, that's all they need. It's just like, she might have done this Google search. If she might have done that Google search, that means that there's a conspiracy here, which means Karen Read is not guilty. Like, there's no other way around it. So
absolutely. And I think, I really do think that some cases you can look into and say, oh, there's shades of gray. This to me is black and white.
You Google searched the phrase "hustlong to die in cold." Yes or no?
Yes.
On January 29th, correct?
Yes.
Any other information would still be on your phone ending in 5421, correct?
Well, that information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State Police.
Right. So where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
Well, that's destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Half, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the SIM card out?
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
And your explanation is that you and Nicole and Chloe, the German Shepherd, all slept through the entirety of that commotion on your front lawn.
Yes.
To be clear, you are a trained first responder.
Yes.
Yet during that entire event, after you were awakened, all that chaos on your front lawn, you never came out of your house to assist or investigate in any manner whatsoever, did you, Mr. Albert?
Once I was awakened?
Correct.
No.
Yeah, that's the same feeling that I had on April 17th, 2023 reading this was just like, oh, it's just a weird feeling. Like, oh my God, this
Like
is
that really
real.
exists?
This,
Right.
yeah, like this exists. You're like, holy, you're like, oh my God, it's scary. And then, like I said, when I kind of blew it up and put a major spotlight on it, and I'm like, well, now they have to drop the charges because too many people are outraged about this, right? It's a horrible look for them.
And
They can't possibly. They doubled down. Not only did they double down, they arrested me. You know, they 6 months later, I'm arrested at my kid's bus stop because I went up. Like I didn't stop. Like I went up to Jennifer McCabe at her kids' lacrosse game. She's in the stands in like the top row. I knew she'd be there. So I go up to her filming it. And I ask her, why'd you Google that at 227? Why'd you do that, Miss McCabe?
Do you think that's funny? How long to die in cold? What is this gentleman doing? Look at that deranged face. Hey, Jen.
Do you regret that at all in hindsight? Are you like,
Well, you know, I could have done without the arrest.
Tonight, the well-known blogger will not be going home, instead heading to the House of Corrections. This is the moment the blogger known as Turtleboy walked out of the courthouse in shackles.
I am going up to these people, asking them the questions that no other reporters are asking, making them feel uncomfortable. Too bad. You know, you're involved in a criminal conspiracy to murder and you have an innocent woman being framed for it. This requires all hands on deck. Journalism, activism, and you know, like I call myself three things: a journalist, an activist, and a satirist. The journalist part of me is the part that's going out publishing stories, exposing corruption, finding new angles, etc. The activist part of me is when I'm going out there and I'm leading protests.
Thank you guys all for coming here today. We got some Google. We got some free Karen Reed shirts, some Holland Italian cold shirts.
if you could ask Brian Albert one thing and you would be guaranteed to tell you the truth, what would you ask?
Well, I can't ask him anything because he has a protective order against me because big, bad, tough guy, Brian Albert, Mr. 6'2", 260 pounds, former Marine and boxer.
But if you had to, this is a what if.
He's scared of Widow Turtleboy.
Come on.
He's so scared.
We're here to peacefully protest. So this is the home somewhere here. Hey, what's happening?
I don't want to say something here that gets me because they are constantly looking to jam me up.
All right.
So
Well, I have something I want to ask him. What the happened inside that you're so that you're willing to take your whole family down? What happened? And if it was an accident, why not call someone immediately? Accidents happen. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be if I was allowed to talk to Brian Albert, I would ask him like, why didn't you guys just say it was an accident, whatever happened? Because I'm sure it was. Like, I don't think for 1 second that they lured him over there with the idea of murdering him and then throwing him on the front lawn. That's not what you do. I mean, these people don't want to. They certainly wouldn't do it in front of the women. And like Jennifer McCabe, they're not going to do that there. So what I think happened most likely is he went there, he walked into the house and a fight started and a fight got out of control. Something kind of like 1 in a million happened. Like his head got hit at the wrong angle. Maybe he fell down, hit it on a stair. That's what I think happened. He fell down and hit his head on a stair. caused that laceration in the back of his head. If you hit yourself at the right angle like that, you can knock yourself out. And I think that's what happened. He was unconscious, bleeding out everywhere. And the dog had bitten him at some point in the struggle because he's got dog bites all over his arms. And I think that, they were just like, what do we do?
Do you think that they initially were going to say, okay, Karen Reed did this, or was it when she called Jen to say,
Yeah,
hey,
I think they were just like, not our problem who did it. Like maybe she did it. Maybe a plow hit him. Like their story is a simple one. He never came in the house. That's all you got to say. People act like this is like such a hard conspiracy. It's like, no, it's actually really easy. You just say that the guy never came in the house. That's what Matt McCabe said in a text message. Just tell him the guy never came inside the house.
Ms. McCabe, can you read what this text says, who it's from and who it's to?
This is from Matt McCabe to myself, my sister Nicole, and Brian.
Can you read it for us, please?
Sure. Eating, I assume. Ask Chris to ask some questions. Tell them the guy never went into the house.
What does tell them the guy never went into the house mean to you? How did you take that?
I took that as John never came in the house.
Who's the guy?
John.
John O'Keefe.
Yes.
And the beginning of that sentence is tell them that the guy never came in the house, correct?
Yes.
And the sentence before that is ask Chris to ask some questions, correct?
Yes.
So this is Matt McCabe directing that Chris ask questions of Channel 4.
Boom. Well, I don't know. He never came in the house. He was supposed to come here. He never
done. Right.
Yeah. I don't know how he got out there. Luckily, I mean, there's a twist of luck that they had was that Karen Reed cracked her taillight. It's on video backing out of John's garage, and she hit his car that was parked there and cracked her taillight. And I think that once she got to the scene and Jen McCabe, and saw that, oh shit, she's got a broken taillight. What luck. What a stroke of luck that was. And Karen Reed made suicidal comments and was put in the hospital for several hours. And that's when Jennifer McCabe had access to the police and could start saying, oh, Karen was saying crazy things. Oh, wow. Do you think Karen Reed could have done this? Oh, my goodness gracious. How horrible.
Is there ever a feeling, I wonder, with Karen, does she ever feel 100% confident? Because I can't imagine being in her shoes.
Well, no one can ever feel 100% of anything because it's a jury and you never know what they're going to do. But certainly last trial, I would say they were pretty close to 100% confident, as they should have been, because the trial was a joke and the Commonwealth didn't even come close to meeting its burden. I don't know if you've seen any of Joseph Paul's testimony. He was the state police's. Have you seen his testimony?
No, which one?
Oh.
Who was he? I'm going to watch it tonight.
So if you knew that the glass pieces on the buffer do not match the cup, that change your opinion?
Objection.
About that, Mark?
Can you answer that question?
I cannot.
Can't answer the question?
It's what was told to me as evidence.
Got it. By who?
By the crime scene.
Who told you?
As crime scene that was there, it says this glass in the cup. When I did my initial inspection, that's what it was on.
That's not what you just said. You said that's what was told to me.
Yeah, by crime. By crime scene. By while I was at my inspection.
Wait, what?
It was told to me by the crime scene when I was at my inspection, at the initial inspection.
So what you meant by that's what was told to me is the crime scene talked to you?
Yes.
He did a pirouette in midair, landed on the curb with his head, and then bounced 10 feet to his final resting place. And the phone ended up beneath John's body and he landed on his back. And so the question that he had for Joseph Paul was, how did his phone get there? And he said,
the cell phone was found under his torso, under his body. What's your theory on how that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet with him?
It just did. That's the evidence at the scene. I didn't put the evidence there.
The crash daddies were the defense's response to Joseph Paul.
You were looking at whether or not the glass could have produced the damage to the rear taillight that you saw, correct?
Correct.
And what did you do in furtherance of making a determination about whether or not that was possible?
Certainly. So myself and one of our lab technicians at ARCA, we
designed and developed a pressurized air cannon. So it was capable of firing a projectile such as a drinking glass at the taillight. So it essentially, you can think of it kind of as a giant cannon, but it had a barrel, and then there was a valve that would open rapidly, and directly behind that was a pressurized vessel. And depending on the pressure, the PSI of that vessel, would determine essentially the speed at which that glass would be projected into the taillight.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
The case comes down to, do you believe John O'Keefe was hit by a car? Yes or no? If he was not hit by a car, Karen Reed's not guilty, obviously.
What'd you think of the documentary? And did you watch it when it first came out?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
come?
I think Karen Reed came across as, she's not good. She needs to stop talking. Like, she needs to just let the facts speak for themselves, because Karen would be extremely likable if she never spoke, but like when you talk, you're on, millions of people watch it. You're just giving people a reason not to like you. Like, oh, I don't like the way she said this.
I heard that too. And on TikTok, it's like the first episode, I didn't like her. The second and the third episode, I'm like, oh my God, she's being framed. So you're right. And I wonder, like, what's likability? And I was watching her, being from New Jersey, maybe people expect her to be warm and fuzzy. She is who she is. She's not the warm and fuzzy, say what you want to hear.
We're happy with the whole process today.
Karen, how do you feel about Hank Brennan planning to use your interviews in his opening statement?
Come at me.
That's what your dad
I
like your dad.
I may have seen it. I would not have said anything that I wouldn't say again.
She's a fighter. I've never met a stronger person. And so she just got she needed more sleep, and she got it yesterday. And so she's doing fine.
I know that this trial is a little bit more low key because of like they're blocking off a certain area, but I'm new to this and I had a preconceived notion of you. I did because of but I didn't know exactly what it was, but it was like, oh, I just think I thought you'd be like this wild guy, like, ah, and you're not.
His name is Aiden Carney, and he's known online as Turtleboy. You got a podcast, there he is, Turtleboy, with us right now. I'm going to call you Turtleboy because your fans are in the chat section going nuts here.
I mean, I can get a little carried away on my show.
He is absolutely harassing people. Now, witness intimidation is overcharging, just like Karen Reed murder 2 is overcharging. But absolutely he is engaging in defamation. Absolutely he is engaging in harassment. And at a certain point, we're going to have to acknowledge that. Two things can be true at once.
They want me to stop reporting about the case. That's what they really want.
So the last motion that they talked about yesterday in Karen's final hearing before her retrial was about Turtleboy. We all know that the real reason that they put Turtleboy on the witness list was so that he could be sequestered from the trial and wouldn't be able to even watch it.
Okay, I haven't finished watching all of the day 27 testimony yet, but I've already learned one thing. In a day and age where the cost of housing has skyrocketed, rents are just outrageous, it is so good to know that Turtleboy gets to live rent-free inside of Hank Brennan's head. I mean, seriously, that whole asking Lucky, like, did the blogger intimidate you? And Lucky's just sitting there saying, like, I wasn't bullied, I wasn't intimidated, I wasn't coerced, I wasn't forced to do this. The truth is that the prosecution has such a hard time believing that anybody would say anything wrong against the Alberts. Like, they just think that the Alberts run this town and everybody loves them and everyone who's known them for 30 years just thinks they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so when there is a detractor, they think, well, somebody must have got to that detractor. There must be a reason that person is detracting. The reason that person is doing that is because they're telling the truth. They're not afraid to stand up to this corrupt, controlling family.
Supporting Karen, we just want the truth to come out, and that is justice for John. If the truth comes out, then that's what John would want. Whatever happened in that basement that night, that's what we want to come out. And, anyone could be Karen Reed. She was in the wrong place at what seemed like at the wrong time, and we don't want her to get framed for that, and then the justice for John being lost in that as well.
So how did you guys feel during the verdict? What was that like? And were you guys out here?
Yeah, we were actually really devastated by the verdict just because after watching the trial day in and day out, we fully believed and were convinced that she was not guilty. So to have to run back this again. And the Commonwealth thinking that they should waste more taxpayer dollars to do this
instead of a reinvestigation, and trying to figure out where all these holes are coming from. It's concerning for sure.
Judge Cannoni, despite our rigorous efforts, we continue to find ourselves at an impasse. Our perspectives on the evidence are starkly divided. Some members of the jury firmly believe that the evidence surpasses the burden of proof, establishing the elements of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Conversely, others find the evidence fails to meet this standard and does not sufficiently establish the necessary elements of the charges. The deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles and moral convictions. To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs. I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case. I'll be in to see you privately in a few minutes. So thank you so much for your service.
This is what it looks like when you bring false charges against an innocent person. The Commonwealth did their worst. They brought the weight of the state based on spurious charges, based on compromised investigation and investigators, and compromised witnesses. This is what it looks like. And guess what? They failed. They failed miserably, and they'll continue to fail. No matter how long it takes, no matter how long they keep trying, we will not stop fighting. We have no quit.
I want to wrap this up by saying this. Okay. Let's say the verdict comes back not guilty. Where do you see yourself on that day, and how would you feel?
I've dreamed about it. It's like how that's going to happen. Hopefully I'll be inside the courtroom and I will get to witness history. And afterwards, I would imagine that the streets are just going to be filled with people, Karen Reed supporters. And then I'm going to come out of those stairs and it's just going to be the greatest feeling in the world as the crowd cheers. And then we'll wait for Karen to come out and it will be the greatest feeling in the world because it will finally be over.
Thank you, Aiden, a.k.a. Turtleboy.
Thank you for having me, Susan.